Hello, and thank you for joining us today on the Gentle Art of Success show, where we focus on learning and sharing with our listeners all there is to know about how to create success in our lives. This show stands on the shoulders of giants. Our mission is to empower and inspire our listeners to create the life of our dreams whilst having a blast in the process. Let's celebrate life together. Welcome to the show. All right. Well, hey, Dan, thank you so much for joining us today on the Gentle Art of Success. And we really appreciate you, sir, for joining us. Please tell us just a little bit about yourself, where you started from and what you've been through, and then give us just maybe something interesting that most people wouldn't know about you, please.
Sure. Well, yeah, thanks for having me, Doug. I'm excited to do this and
You're welcome.
help get your podcast started here. So, a little bit about me. I got started in real estate actually before I graduated college. So,
Sweet.
throughout college, I worked full time. I ran a landscaping company. And in order to do that, that involved selling the work, managing the guys, being responsible for gross margins and sales and pretty much everything. So I was just about running the entire residential side of this business along with 16 credit hours. So I was working 45 to 50 hours a week, 16 credit hours. Needless to say, that wasn't a whole lot of fun. That was a lot to do.
Yeah. And you're
And
looking at maybe about 80 hours plus your school plus your full-time gig, right?
Sure, sure. And as a 19, 20-year-old, seeing what my peers were doing, I wasn't especially happy to do that. But that was reality. If I wanted to go to college, I had to pay for it myself. So it was around that time where I said, okay, I don't want to do this forever. I grew up in a very kind of conservative, dogmatic, scarcity mindset sort of
Mm.
background, and no one ever had money. We were lower middle class. And I said, all right, what can I do once I'm done with college here? If I can balance a job plus school, I can certainly start a business on the side when I leave school. So I was around 19, 20 years old that I started reading all kinds of different books on businesses you could start, on investing, so on and so forth. And like just about everyone else, it was when I came across Rich Dad Poor Dad that real estate really started to interest me. And it was about that same time I'm sitting at lunch at work, and my coworker goes, "Yeah, well, my wife and I we're just finishing up rehabbing our duplex, and tenants move in
It's
upstairs,
awesome.
so they're paying the mortgage." And I go, "What?" And he goes, "Yeah, yeah,
How's
they're
heck?
paying the mortgage." And I go, "Whoa!" So, anyways, 2 months later, closed on my first duplex when I was 21, before I graduated college. From there, I moved from Ohio to Colorado, bought some more rental properties, started the land and development business that I now own. And yeah, I'm full time in real estate now, building houses, buying and selling land. And then I have 10 tenants distributed among four properties. And I am working on buying a commercial building before the end of the year. So, very
Love that.
quick synopsis there, but that's where I'm at now. And then to answer your last question, something a lot of people don't know about me. When I was a kid, I started weightlifting when I was 13. I always played sports, and I was short, and I played basketball. I thought, okay, well, at least I'll build some muscle, so I can at least push people around. And I really enjoyed it.
Smart.
And I ended up, well, I ended up actually competing in bodybuilding throughout my teenage years. So I don't
Wow.
look like it. Yeah, I don't look like it now because I'm more of a runner now. But 19 years old, squatted 500 pounds for reps, deadlifting 600 pounds, and I weighed 210 pounds. So, yeah,
Dang.
I used to look very different, but I'll tell you, nothing I've done since then has compared as far as difficulty.
Hmm.
Prepping for shows and that sort of thing taught me a
Hmm.
lot of discipline and work ethic, and that's been applicable to everything I've done now. So yeah, that was teenage Dan was a competitive bodybuilder. So those experiences have really carried over.
AKA Beast.
Yeah,
Which is
yeah,
awesome. I love that. Like those are incredible numbers. Like squatting 500 at 210 pounds is like ridiculous. Also, I was gonna say, nobody looks like they're competing in bodybuilding until they're actually like their show's coming up, and that's when they start like really cutting. And I've never
sure.
I've never done that. I've witnessed people doing it, and I'm just like, holy moly, and show me what they're eating, and you got to be real careful
Mhm.
with everything. I would say that requires a high level of discipline, which is like
Yeah.
gonna, pay you for the rest of your life. But right along with that, I just wanted to mention, and I love that, and I love your backstory, man. Thank you so much for sharing that already.
Sure.
Is like crazy valuable. For me, I weight lift also, but it's super low key. But
Hmm.
I've just never been able to like replicate the after feeling that you get from weightlifting with anything else that
Hmm.
I've done. It's just different. So it's kind of
Sure.
a chill, good vibe, but I love it.
Yeah.
Um,
Agreed.
yeah, I think also, it's crazy gutsy to buy your first duplex at 21. I think that, going what you went through when you were, working and going to college full time, built some almost, I would say, maybe even extreme character, in
Mhm.
discipline, right? So
Sure.
it's
Sure.
it's it's showing, and so far, I've got to speak with you in the past a little bit, and just super impressed with what you've been able to do. And like, I joke around
Thanks.
all the time. People ask me, "Hey, how's your day going?" I'll just say, "Living the dream." I just like always
Mhm.
say that, but like, you literally are living the dream. And I hope you don't mind me sharing your kid, or do
Sure.
you mind sharing your goal for after you purchase your commercial property? What you plan on?
Oh, oh yeah. Okay. So part of moving to Colorado was I love extreme sports, as you probably got the impression with the bodybuilding. So I've been climbing, hiking, snowboarding, and mountain biking all over Colorado, and I've really wanted to learn to surf. So I went out to San Diego after I bought my last property as kind of a small little reward. Started to learn to surf, but once I buy the commercial property, I'm going to go to Hawaii for an extended period of time, and really become proficient at surfing, because that's really what I want to do. Spend the summers at the beach and the winters in the mountains. And so, yeah, that's kind of the purpose of everything I'm working on.
I love that. And much warmer water, right? I know SoCal has warmish water, but not like Hawaii, right?
Yeah, yeah. Wetsuit was definitely helpful.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love it, dude, so much. And yeah, there's a lot of similarities. Like, I actually have done a decent amount of mountain biking and
Mm,
snowboarding. And
okay.
yeah, I really love the feeling. Like, I will still have dreams where, I'm actually going solo through the trees, like out of bounds, just in real
Hmm.
fresh powder, where you're not even
Yeah.
touching the ground, you're just floating. And that's kind of, I don't think surfing feels like that, but I always like imagine it feels like that.
Yeah,
Either
I
way.
don't really have enough experience to comment, but yeah, there's snowboarding's hands down my favorite hobby up to this point.
It's an amazing thing to do for sure. Please,
Mhm.
well, thank you so much for that. Let me ask you this. Do you mind sharing with us one of your favorite successes or more? It's totally up to you that you're either a part of or like solely created.
Yeah, yeah, that's a good question. I think the rental I bought last year, I can pull a lot of lessons out of that.
Mm,
So let's see, it was February 2020, and this one I owned with a partner. I was at the local real estate club, which I actually now host, but I did not at the time. And
that's
you
awesome.
get wholesalers or new wholesalers every week, right? Because that's the low and no money down thing. So people show up, they say they're going to wholesale, and then they just disappear. But there's really no harm in giving them my number. So I did. There was a new one. She introduced herself to everyone. And what do you know? The next day, I get a call from her. Hey, I've got a deal. She sends it over. Okay. Well,
Sure.
she accidentally shared everything in her drive, which included her cash buyers list. And on that cash on that cash buyers list, Doug, there were four people, me being one of them. So there, I see this and I see the house. Okay, somehow she got this. It's in the best school district in Colorado Springs. Awesome neighborhood, right up against a park. Very good location as far as accessibility. And I call my partner. I go, "Hey, nobody knows about this. We've got to jump on it." So, anyways, go to see that. End up buying the place. It was cosmetically trashed,
Mm,
but all the bones were really solid. And
nice.
we rehabbed it, and it's kind of funny because we didn't know what we were getting into at the time. But turns out the son was a wanted felon, and his girlfriend was actually a prostitute he was paying. And that
Oh
was yeah,
no. Holy
so I mean,
moly.
you walked into this thing, it was disgusting. But anyways, we were
Was this
very,
the
very
buyer that you're dealing with, the son?
no, these were
The
the
seller, I'm
dad,
sorry.
excuse me, no. The seller was an army guy, and because we have a lot of army here in Colorado Springs, Fort Carson, he bought this years ago. left it completely negligent. Property manager was useless. So yeah, the tenants were paying half a market rent. The house smelled just disgusting, just bodily fluids everywhere. It was horrible.
Oh yeah.
So, anyways, but it was an awesome location. So we had to get those people out, rehab the place, and get it on the market. And thankfully, we were very cautious, gentle, diplomatic, and we got the people out without any major issues or conflict.
Awesome.
We were helpful and just tried to be just understanding of their situation, because I mean they're people, you know. And it was the helpless dad was kind of the one in charge. His son taking advantage of him, but it's his son, so he didn't have the heart to kick him out.
Yeah.
So anyways, we got them out of the property, rehabbed it, put a nice
Did you
young
do cash
couple.
for keys or just sort of
No, really
built
what
a
it was,
relationship?
it was very confrontational when we first walked in, because, hey, these guys are going to come by the house we're living in and kick us out. But we spent a lot of time talking to them, just listen to their situation, sent them, you know, to some of the property managers I know to look for other units, just generally tried to help them. And after spending a good amount of time talking to them and listening, they, you know, we kind of moved to the same side of the table as opposed to that confrontational sort of mindset.
Nice.
And they did get out as opposed to causing a big issue. So here's the thing though, we're rehabbing this in a hard money loan. March is when we're rehabbing. Pandemic hits. We're freaking out, right? I mean, I'm exaggerating a little bit, but we're definitely nervous. Hey, we're in a hard money loan. What's going to happen to real estate? In hindsight, everything's clear. But at the time, I think everyone thought the crash was finally coming. But hey, we persisted. We finished the rehab. We got a nice young couple in there, almost doubled the rent, and refied, and it's cash flowing. So why do I tell that story? Well, there's a couple things, right? If I'd been sitting on my couch watching TV and hadn't got up and gone to that networking event, I never would have found that deal. Okay. And then number two, just focusing on the fundamentals. Everything, the world seemed to be falling, right? We were nervous, but at the end of the day, we bought a great house in a great area that cash flowed, where the numbers made sense. We had our appropriate reserves. So it worked. And now I'm very glad we still own that. Do absolutely nothing. I mean, they wanted to get a little poodle and they texted me asking, like, just excellent tenants because it's in an excellent area. So yeah, that house is something I never want to sell.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think that's sound advice for sure. And I also think a lot of people would think to find a house like that in an area like that, at a discounted rate, and then you have somebody in there. I think most people, I think, would think it's impossible or just too scary or too big of a goal to actually like approach, or even tackle. Any advice on, sort of tackling something like that? I mean, it doesn't sound like you've ever done anything like that before, right? Or is
No,
gnarly?
that was my first one that was that bad. The duplex I bought in college, one of the units was not so great, but nothing like this.
Mm.
As far as, so I think the question is, finding that sort of deal seems unrealistic, is what you're saying, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'm going to tell you another story then after this that exemplifies the same point.
Love it.
But no, it's a matter of consistency for long periods of time. I had been attending that real estate club for years. I had been looking at deals from wholesalers for months on end going. I've been sending out letters. So it's persistency over long periods of time. You're never going to succeed at anything if you have a lot of effort and motivation for a month. It's got to be over the long term, which is one of the most important things or points I'd like to drive home. If you just are really excited for a few weeks, you're not going to get anywhere. It's consistency over the long term, whatever it is you're trying to do, whether it's dieting or finding a deal or so on and so forth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or surfing
So,
or snowboarding.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, it really is. I kind of enjoy looking at how the same principles are applicable throughout all areas of life that make successful people successful. The other story I want to tell quickly here, along the same point, would be about the house I just bought. So obviously these last 6 months have been lowest inventory I think we've ever seen, the hottest market. I mean, and then Colorado Springs specifically has a large amount of growth, people moving here, there's businesses and so on. And in the middle of that, I bought a house on market below appraised value and got them to pay all my closing costs.
Whoa. Okay.
Well,
Exactly.
it really was not that hard. So I wanted to buy the last residential property via house hacking, because that's been such a great strategy. And then the rental I was occupying will just be a full-blown rental now.
Hmm.
So I found a realtor who focuses on house hacking, and he's an investor himself. And then we kind of brainstormed, okay, how are we going to do this? Well, I said, number one, if they're going to wait for offers over the weekend, this isn't going to work. So those are off the table. Let's find something that comes on the market on a weeknight, Monday or Tuesday, ideally, has a poor listing, right? Low quality pictures. Clearly, there's a lack of effort on the part of the agent, where they're going to take the first offer that works because they have motivation, right? So those are our parameters. I'm not even going to look at if they're waiting through the weekend. I'm not getting in a bidding war. And I'm looking for that scenario where clearly it was that realtor who doesn't know what they're doing, but even the realtors that don't know what they're doing have a brother or a wife or a cousin that will list something with them, right? So that's exactly what we did. We made offers on a number of houses like that, didn't get them. But then one day, some of the worst photos I've ever seen were listed on this split level. It was a 4-bed, 2-bath, very close to downtown Cheyenne Canyon, which is a hot spot as far as hiking and tourism, close to the highway. I'm like, I would love to live there. I could rent out all the extra space. We go to look at it. It's in much better condition than the pictures show.
Love it. It's
And
usually the opposite, right?
I know. We go, and it's like a Monday or Tuesday night. I mean, we looked at this thing within an hour, okay? And then we get there, great condition, and then the basement is like a suite, but it doesn't have a bathroom. But the plumbing from upstairs is exposed. So I said, okay, I'm going to build a bathroom there. The master suite is, because it's a tri-level. There's a lot of these split and tri-levels in Colorado Springs. Okay. The master suite's on its own side of the house with a big living space, big bay windows looking towards the mountains with a big balcony. And then in the middle floor, there's a wing with 3 bedrooms and a bathroom, brand new bathroom. And then there's the downstairs. So I said, all right, we're going to build a bathroom downstairs. I'm going to rent out 2 of those 3 rooms upstairs, use the third as an office. And then I can go occupy the master and have plenty of my own space with the own bathroom. Okay.
And a great view.
Exactly. Yeah. Awesome balcony. So in the long term, it's just a property you want to own. So we made an offer. I want to say it was listed for $330. We made an offer at $335 that went up to $340. And talking with my realtor about strategy, he goes, look, the chances of this appraising significantly above or below what we're offering here is almost nothing. So let's just say full appraisal gap coverage. I had extra cash. I mean, I could have gone up quite a bit, but I didn't really want to cover a big gap there. But he's like, look, there's little chance of more than a couple $1,000s being in that gap. So full appraisal gap coverage up to $340, closing, I think 30 days was what we submitted. They get another offer for $365. Our offer gets accepted because of the appraisal gap coverage. Then, so we're under contract. We go through the inspections, and again, there's all kinds of little things going on at the house. There's some bigger things. One of the biggest issues had to do with the foundation, and it more was a visual thing because I have a friend who owns, I have a buddy who owns a foundation repair company. That's all he's done.
Love it.
So I got him to come out and look at it. He goes, Dan, I'd buy this in a heartbeat. It's not actually an issue. It's more of it looks. And so anyways, long story short, we negotiated. We ended up, I bought it for $327,500. It appraised at $340. They covered all my closing costs and several thousand of the down payment. And 2 rooms upstairs rented out for $700. Basement rented out for $1,200 to a dentist with an 810 credit score. And the mortgage is $1,600, $2,600 to income. I occupy the place and I like living there. I mean, and that was on market. It's just really not that hard.
You're living there for free too, right?
Well, $2,600 on a $1,600 mortgage. Well, plus the $800 of the bedroom that I was occupying that I rented out. So.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, so I mean that's crazy. I mean, I don't know, man. Maybe we should consider a nickname for you as the Unicorn Hunter because that's 2 right there. That's like awesome. I love that story, and it does go to show. I mean, obviously, you have a high level understanding of real estate and you've been dealing with it for a while, which has helped you to gather that. But I think that having that strategy was super smart. And I've never even thought of that. Like, I had heard, going after the ones with the listings where they have bad pictures, but I never thought, hey, start your journey on a Monday. Because that's what happens. Everybody's waiting for the weekend. The homes don't last through the weekends, right? And so in a hot market.
Yep.
But I love that. That's great, man. Okay, let me go to the other side of this
Sure.
coin and ask you if you don't mind, sharing with us, some of the incredibly difficult experiences that you've had to walk through in your life and what you've learned from them.
Sure. So, preparing for that question, I was thinking more along the lines of business. And again, I think this will be applicable to a lot of listeners. When I left my job to get started, let's see, what was that? That was fall, or excuse me, not to get started, to go full time, fall 2019.
Full-time real
Uh,
estate, right?
yeah, full time in real estate. That was difficult. When you're getting started in anything, it's such a slow build at first, and especially if you're not focused. I was trying to do a little bit of this, a little bit of that, too many different things at once. There was a good amount of time where I just didn't get a lot of traction, but it really is what a lot of people say, and then it's an exponential curve. It starts very, 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 very slowly, and then once you figure it out, it explodes. So there was a solid, let's see, what, I left my job at the end of 2019, and then the pandemic hit.
It's like great timing.
So yeah, so I had development. Then this is another area we can get into. I got more into development before I got into the buying and selling of land. That kind of came separate, and so leaving my job at the end of 2019, I had several development projects I was putting together, multifamily project a bit south of me, some homes being built, and those all fell apart come the pandemic, early 2020. And yeah, so with a little bit of income I had from the rentals, barely keeping me above board, but that was difficult. That was very, very, very difficult. And for those getting started, I think this is applicable. That expect it to be slow at first, expect to fall on your face over and over again at first, and it just takes time. You got to stick with it. Because yeah, so let's see, what was this? I remember April of 2020, everything I had worked on up to that point for those projects was gone. It wasn't happening. Builders had slowed, mostly, not completely, but mostly stopped building, at least in the market I was in. And I had to figure out how to make money. Which is about when I found just the land, and I am building again now. But yeah, I know that was vague, but I don't want to talk for 3 hours here. So I think the moral of what I'm trying to say is when you're getting started, it's very slow. Whether you're trying to buy rentals, you're going direct to seller, or you're trying to start a land business, or maybe you're a realtor trying to get clients. They say over and over again, those first 6 months, you're probably not going to have any deals. So it's applicable with everything. When you're getting started, it's a very slow go. But when you have momentum, it really can be exponential.
Yeah, no, I love that. The big mo, right? And
Mhm.
now one of the things I remember when we first met, the first time we talked, is that you told me it's really hard to sort of take off in anything or succeed in anything unless it has like your full focus. So
Yeah.
um, obviously you did that, you've been through there, and, I was kind of smiling as you're explaining your tough times because I really love when the people go through the tough times, but they don't just stay there and fall apart. They continue
Mhm.
moving forward. So we know that where you're at now is not where you were in April of 2020. You're in a much better place. And,
Yeah.
the other thing I wanted to ask you on that is any recommendations for people that are planning on launching their business as far as ramping period and then money that they should have in the bank or passive income to help support them as they launch.
Yeah, well, that depends a little bit. If you have a wife and kids, I'd tell you to be a lot more conservative than if you're a
Yeah.
single guy or girl, or that plays into it quite a bit. But to give specific numbers is difficult. But what I can say is, for me, I had my living expenses as low as possible. I was being very, very, very frugal, and at the same time, my house hack plus the other rentals. So at the time, the two other rentals covered all my expenses. It was just barely, but they did cover everything. So
That's awesome.
just being as frugal as you can, and I still am. I still almost live like that because I want to buy more buildings. I'm broke because I'm always buying real estate, right?
It's
So,
good.
anyways, but yeah, to answer specifically, that's hard to say because that's very individual. I have heard of people that just jumped ship with no passive income and have made it work, but I'm sure there's a survivorship bias there. So
Mhm.
I do think you should have either your expenses mostly covered, or completely covered plus a decent chunk in the bank. Cause I had cash in the bank as well.
Yeah.
So
That's awesome. No, and I love a couple things you said there as well, where you're staying broke, but you're also like staying hungry in that process, and
mhm.
so I love that. So let me ask you this now, kind of just changing the conversation a little bit. If you were to be, able to go back in time to age 18, what
Mhm.
would you do to fast track your success, like knowing what you know now?
Yeah, so I thought about this question a bit, and I'm going to answer it honestly. I would tell myself not to go to college. I would immediately get a sales job, and I would start buying real estate right away. So, again, we've had limited time, but I actually, when I was 16, I was managing a portfolio of rentals and at the same time a farm while my boss was in Aruba for most of the year.
Okay,
So by the time I was 18, I already had several years of experience running businesses. And unfortunately,
good
I
experience.
was, I was an 18-year-old. I wanted to go to college, and I paid for it myself. But nonetheless, I wanted to go to college and kind of have that experience. Uh, but yeah, in hindsight, I learned what I learned through the business I had to run, not through school. The business degree I got was pretty useless. If you want to be a doctor, that's one thing. I'm not going to comment on that. Or if you're going to Harvard or Yale, I'm not going to comment on that sort of school. But for your average run-of-the-mill college with a business degree, that was a waste of 40 grand in a lot of times. So yeah, I would focus on a sales job too, because no matter what it is that you want to do, sales is just effective communication. That's all it is knowing how to communicate with other people. So it's one of the most useful skills you can develop in all aspects of life. So getting a sales job and then investing in real estate as soon as you can via house hacking. It's really hard to go wrong starting with house hacking. There's few people who aren't in a situation to do that. There are some. You can always find the exception to the rule. But yeah, I mean, I would be a lot further ahead if I had done that. I mean, I can only imagine if I bought a couple properties when I graduated high school
Yeah.
and had a full-time sales job. But you live and learn.
Right, right. Well, and I love that advice though as well. And it's super honorable, and I have a lot of respect for what you did as far as like going to college and working on top of it. And there was the character building there, that you
Sure.
went through. But I still love that a lot. And let me ask you this: what are your thoughts on mindset, really, and how to go from a non-success mindset or a lack mindset or scarcity to a successful mindset or abundance or however you want to put it.
Yeah, that's a constant work in progress. I like to joke with my brother that sometimes I'll say something, I'll think, wait, that's my dad talking. That's not me.
Yeah,
And
wow, I love that. Yeah.
I grew up in the Midwest, very conservative, very scarcity, right? The world's always falling apart. We're always going to go broke. The stock market's always going to fall like that. That was the mindset I was raised on. So it took a long time to get away from that. And it's a constant work in progress. The couple things I've done to work on that, the people I'm around, the podcasts I listen to, the books I read, that has all helped a lot. And then just really trying to be conscious of it. I mean, it's crazy, Doug. I'll be really straightforward here. I'm going to make 400 or 500 grand this year. And
Love it.
I still go to the store and feel like, oh, I got to buy the cheapest food possible. I got to, buy the cheapest everything. And it's like, wait,
Right.
that's absurd. You don't need to inflate your expenses, but you don't need to be worried about what you're eating. And I still am to some degree. So it's a constant work in progress. And I'm trying to get over that. I've definitely gotten better. But still, that upbringing is really difficult to get out of your head. And that's one of the biggest things I've been working on with the coach through Peter's his name. He
I
always
love it. I
is.
think we have the same coach.
Oh yeah, but yeah, we do.
He's a
Peter's full.
great guy. I love
Yeah,
him.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I told him, I said, Peter, you got to be straightforward with me. Do not coddle me and tell me if call me on my bullshit. It really is what I told him.
Yeah,
He's very good
right.
about that. So yeah, he'll call me Daniel because if I'm being a baby, he'll call me Daniel because that's what my mom called me as a child. I haven't gone by that since I was 6, So I think in my head. So to answer your question, to bring this back, try and be aware of those thoughts. So when you catch yourself being ridiculous, I mean, there's prudence. Again, I don't want to go out and blow a bunch of money. the stock or excuse me, the real estate market will eventually slow down or crash. These are real concerns, but it doesn't have to completely envelop all of your thinking all the time. And you don't need to be concerned about spending a few dollars on food for the week. It's, it's
Yeah.
crazy.
I do that same thing and it drives me nuts. And it's like, how much
Mhm.
time am I actually wasting that is worth money trying to save money? It's like
Yep.
crazy. And I'm in a similar boat as far as always, some of these thoughts that run in my head are coming to me is not necessarily a clear thought, but also just sort of like a belief. And they are
Hmm.
coming to me as fact. So if I don't
Yeah.
pull this thought out and go, so, hey, this is what my head's telling
Yeah.
me. Is that true? And what Peter loves to say is, can I know with 100%,
Yeah.
beyond a shadow of
Certainty.
a doubt that this is true?
Yeah.
No, I can't. And it's not true in the first place. This is a bold-faced lie. So why am I taking it on as truth? But like, it's
Hmm.
so important to capture your thoughts and like test them and say, does this serve me or not?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Agreed. Agreed. So yeah,
So
it's a constant work in progress. But like anything, whether it's going to the gym or working on your business, if you work on it every day, you get better little by little.
I love that. That's wonderful. Yeah, just keeping the same like train of thought, like, or thread of thought throughout the whole conversation. Now we are starting to run overtime, so I apologize for that. So,
Okay.
but let's go on here to the next one, that next question that I got for you. Is there a key, like one key or one thing or one success principle that you came across through your journey that has helped you to unlock success in your life?
Yeah, being just relentless. Let me tell you a story that exemplifies. I can tell you a bunch of stories. Here's a short one. I have a deal that just closed. Bought a parcel of land for 10, sold it for 35. I followed up with those sellers 12 times. 12
Holy
times. Okay,
moly, 12.
and
Wow.
and that's kind of this is why a sales job is so important, right? Because you learn these people are either going to tell me to F off or they're going to sell me their land. Like if they initiate the conversation. And I take that sort of mindset in everything. So here's a little longer story that I think is really important. When I moved to Colorado, I started going to that real estate club I just told you about.
Hmm.
And there was a guy that stood up and he goes, hey, I'm an investor. I've been doing this for 40 years, done all kinds of projects, actually all over the world. And I need help on the technological side of my business. He was an older guy. He didn't want to learn the computer. And he goes, look, you come help me out. I live in Pueblo, which is about an hour south of here, south of the Springs. And I'll show you some of what I've learned. So, of course, everyone gathers around him. He gets everyone gets his phone number. Two people called him, myself and one other. The other guy, I ended up getting to know a little bit. And after about a week or two of going down there and helping him, he goes, yeah, man, I can't get started without a bunch of cash. You need to figure out how to make money first. And I go, okay, well, I'm going to keep going down there. So here's a guy, it became clear to me, he's built houses all over, built apartments. He built a complex in China. He's bought and sold notes.
Wow.
Everything you could imagine, this guy's done all over the West Coast and all over
That
the
is
world.
so cool.
Yeah. And anyway, so I'm like, okay, it's been a couple weeks. It's not a whole lot of fun getting up early and coming down here on a Saturday, but I'm just I'm gonna stick with it because I'm going to figure this out. And at this point, I was still in a job, right? At this point I had a duplex in a house, but I was still in a job. Hated the job, and I've said, okay, I'm going to start a business on the side, right? So this is 2018. Started going down there. It took almost a year before I made any money or figured
Mm.
anything out. But I said, no, this guy knows everything I want to know, and I'm going to figure this out. So I just kept going down there and learning from him and helping him. And eventually we started doing deals together. And what do you know? He's one of my biggest investors, and he's introduced me to a bunch of other guys that now invest with me. And if I
Wow.
need, I'm going out to Nevada this weekend to another market that's similar to the one where I've done a lot of land and development here. Where do you think I heard about that from? So, anyways, just
Pueblo,
the
Colorado.
yeah, yeah. Well, from him,
Right.
Rich is his name. Anyways,
Okay.
so just the value I've gotten out of sticking with it and getting to know this guy, and so it can't be overstated. I mean, if I have questions on anything, he'll help me. He's a big investor. He's introduced me to a lot of different people, and he's just a lifelong friend at this point.
Yeah.
Um, so a couple points I want to make there. Just being persistent and not giving up after 2 weeks.
Mm.
Going to networking events has really helped me, as you've heard 2 stories already. I can tell you
Yes.
more. And then I hear people wanting to find a mentor. They talk about this all the time. Well, if you go up to someone and say, "Hey, can you just teach me all you know for free?" Well, I'm a pain in your butt, which is really what most people are saying when they go ask someone to be. That doesn't work. Go find someone that you can help and build a genuine friendship over time if you want a mentor.
Mm.
So yeah, long story, but I think that's valuable because so many people complain about this sort of thing. It takes time and it takes effort. You can't just if you want someone to give you a turnkey business model, you can buy them for 10, 20, 30,000. That's another option. There's nothing wrong with that.
Hmm.
But if you want a mentor, then you have to build a genuine relationship and be persistent.
Yeah, and right, I love that. And just to add a couple of points there is like I've heard before, the most valuable skills you can have is people skills, and I think obviously you have great people skills now. It's safe to assume you had great people skills then when you met Rick. And the other thing that comes to mind is your network is your net worth, right? And
Yeah.
so, I mean, it's awesome. I love it, dude. And um, I also wanted to say this earlier. I forgot though. If you would have shunned the wholesaler lady that you met at the REI or REIA group
Yeah.
or whatever, earlier in the conversation, you would have never got that deal. And so I think it's also important to stay open and
Yeah.
always kind of just treat people as you'd want to be treated. I think that's huge, and obviously you do that, and then some, because you brought a lot of value to Rick. So
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
great. I love it. Do you mind sharing with us one, book recommendation that outside of, I know you gave us Rich Dad
Yeah.
Poor Dad, and then maybe one tech recommendation.
Book recommendation. Okay, gosh, you did. I already mentioned the one I wanted to. Let's see. Another one. Okay.
Sorry about that.
Uh, the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. I don't remember 6 of them, but one of them I'll remember forever. My boss actually at that landscaping company I ran in college gave me to this. He's a friend now. And the one that says, I forget how he frames it exactly, but the concept is pretend you're at your funeral, you're on your deathbed, and you're looking back at your life. And when I'm
Mm,
making decisions or thinking through what I want to spend time on or what is important, that that framing is really useful, and it quickly makes you realize that anything involving the ego is not important. Granted,
mm.
I can fail here. Don't get me wrong. I can fail here. But that is one of my favorite books. I remember enjoying the whole thing, but I only remember that principle, and that's okay. That frame alone is worth having read it. So you
Yeah,
said then a tech recommendation.
yeah. Any tech recommendation, any apps that you like,
Um,
or
as far as business, I would say PropStream. Most people know what it is, but I mean that's the one I use the most. I'm pulling lists of all different kinds
hmm.
for mailers and got cold calling set up now. So yeah, I guess PropStream.
That's so cool. I was actually just looking into prop stream a little earlier today. Um, Beautiful. Well, thank you so much. I have just a couple more questions for you. Is there
Sure.
anything that our audience can support you with as far as bringing you a particular type of deal or value in any sort of way?
So, 2 thoughts here. Number one, I am working on starting a mastermind for business owners in their 20s and early 30s. I was looking into EO last year. I'm sure you probably heard of EO. Great program, great people. They're all my parents' age. I have this problem where half the people around are all my parents' age. I want to find
Not a great
people in
fit.
their 20s and 30s who are actually doing something, who have businesses and want to do some sort of mastermind. So that's something I'm trying to put together. And then as far as deals, I am anything that would function. I think I told you this, or maybe I didn't. I just sent mailers out to every building within El Paso County, which is Colorado Springs and around, that would
Wow.
function as a Walgreens. Uh, I'm looking, I think I told you to buy my first commercial property before the end of the year.
Yeah.
And that's going to take a chunk of my cash plus one or maybe two of my investors. And that's a specific asset that I know they'll go for. So, yeah, anything that can function as a drugstore within, even up in Denver, I mean, or down to Pueblo, anywhere along the Front Range, I'm looking for that.
Okay, I love it. Would that be a triple net lease in, or
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
super cool.
And it
Hey,
doesn't already have to be leased. It just, yeah.
very cool. Thank you. Yeah, and how could if you prefer or would like the audience to connect with you, what would be the best way to do that?
Oh yeah, social media is fine. You can message me on Facebook or Instagram. I just post pictures of mountains I'm climbing and business deals I'm doing. So it's just Dan Haberkost on Facebook, or same Dan Haberkost on Instagram. It's spelled phonetically, and that's a K, not a C.
Love it. Yeah, and your name will be in the description of the actual interview itself, so it'll be easy for them to find you and hopefully not
Cool.
stalk you. But yeah.
Hey, I don't care.
So anyways, Dan, thank you so much. Really, really appreciate you, man. I really
Sure.
appreciate you spending time with me. It's super valuable for me, and it's going to be super valuable for anybody who listens slash watches this.
It was
And
fun.
so, yeah, thank you. I appreciate it, and I agree, man. It was super fun for me as well. So I'm gonna go ahead and let us sign off now, and thank all the viewers for watching, and thanks again, Dan. Again. Really appreciate love what you've been able to create in your life.
Thanks, Doug.
All right, welcome. Bye. Thank you for experiencing the Gentle Art of Success show. Please subscribe as more amazing content is yet to come.